Hello, everybody, and welcome to our review and discussion of Spider-Man Brand New Day. And we're very, very excited to discuss this. This did come out, I believe, we're a week into this now. And if you guys haven't watched it, please make sure to watch it because there's going to be a spoilery discussion. And yes, very, very excited to discuss this film. And joining me for this, first we have Aidan. Hello, my friend.
Hey Harry, it's awesome to be here. I'm excited to talk about the Spider-Man.
Indeed, indeed. And also, we do have Webcrawler. As you know, our FOF is the admin and part of our team as well. And also, out of our team, a really big Spider-Man fan. Do you want to quickly, first of all, hello, and quickly share a little bit about, your introduction to the films and, why you are, such a big fan?
Hello, everyone. Hello, true believers. Yes, I am a pretty big Spider Man fan. I wouldn't claim to be the biggest, but I've grown up watching a lot of Spider Man media and playing games, the Tobey Maguire movies, Spider Man Unlimited, the PS4 games. So I'm pretty stoked to be able to talk about this movie, which I did watch last week and I really enjoyed.
Indeed, indeed. And I think based off that web, I will actually go to you first. And as an overall look at this film, how did it compare, firstly, in your opinions, to the previous iterations of, I guess they call it something like the Homecoming trilogy, or like the first three films, which is in the MCU, and also the other Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield films as well? Where do you think, you don't have to give a specific where, but like as a vibe, where does it rank for you?
I think Homecoming trilogy is a good term for it. Overall, obviously, Tobey Maguire Spider Man 2, top spot. That's just nostalgia. It's one of the best superhero films of all time. This one, Spider Man Brand New Day, I think I put it like up there with No Way Home, so fourth or fifth overall all time. I liked it almost as good as the previous one with Andrew and Toby making, cameos with the whole Green Goblin and everything. But I think that one for me still has a bigger nostalgia factor, although this one is definitely better than the other uh, movies in the MCU for Spider-Man. So I like it better than Far From Home. I like it better than Homecoming. It's second out of the four Tom Holland movies, I'd say.
I think this is one of the not even just the best Spider-Man movies we've gone. I think this is one of the best Marvel movies we've had in a very, very hot minute. This
Yeah,
is
I'd
just
agree
all
with
around.
that.
It's just all around a good. I think this is probably from the most recent Marvel outages. This is probably my favorite film since
For sure. And I think yeah, it's good you touch upon that because I feel like I think they're in phase five or coming to phase six. And I think
Guardians 3. Yeah, I have no clue. They're so far.
but with phase four, I feel like that's where we got I think one of the better things from there was the Loki show. But I feel like Marvel was going, downwards a bit. And then recently, I think it started, with Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and then Deadpool and Wolverine. Then I believe Thunderbolts, aka the New Avengers, came out. Then it was Fantastic Four, which so you can start to see like a sharp
Yeah, they're
increase in
starting to
there.
get their mojo back a little bit.
You forgot about Captain America: Brave New World, but I think uh, that probably speaks to how people in
Yeah.
general feel about it.
Yeah, that was. I don't know, unfortunately, I have to admit, I haven't really seen that one, and I think
That's a
it's something
sad.
that
I watched it. And I enjoyed it, but it was just a. It just wasn't a movie that really felt like it did anything
yeah.
new. Like it was a fun movie, and I like the character. It's you know I'd honestly say one of my biggest gripes about this phase of Marvel is that they made Sam Wilson Captain America and then haven't done anything with him. And then not to jump into Doomsday, but it looks like Steve Rogers is already coming back, and it's like Sam Wilson didn't even have a chance to be Captain America yet. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, and like to bring it back to Spider-Man: Brand New Day, I think you can take a look at how the Hulk and the Hulk related characters were used in Spider-Man Brand New Day versus Captain America Brave New World, and see that the difference where, in the Captain America one, it sort of became the whole story and overshadowed the main character. Whereas in
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man Brand New Day, it really fit into the world they're trying to, tell a story with Peter Parker at the center of. And he was, the Hulk was a much more of a supporting plot point, supporting character. It didn't take over the movie. It didn't feel out of place. And that's,
No, I loved that about this movie. Like, if you told me like a year ago that there was going to be a Spider-Man movie with Scorpion, Hulk, Punisher. We already said spoilers. Jean Grey, like all these characters shoved into a Spider-Man movie, I'd be like, wow, that's going to be bloated and incoherent. But yeah, to echo what you said, Webb, I love how each of these characters that is put into the movie doesn't feel like they're just ticking a box with a cameo. Like, oh, we got to have an Avenger in here, so let's throw the Hulk. Like, him being in the movie made sense. His inclusion wove itself into the narrative, and it didn't distract from the plot. It added to Spider-Man's story. It directly fueled it, propelled it, and gave, a better lens. The same goes for Punisher. I mean, Punisher was in this movie way more than I thought he was going to be, and I thought that he was an incredible foil to Spider-Man, and it, like, probably the best hero they could have picked to kind of show how isolating the people in your life and cutting them out isn't a good path to go down.
yeah, no, I agree. I really like how the Hulk, Punisher, and Jean Grey are each sort of addressing the challenges Peter Parker is feeling in this movie in different ways that reflect sort of the choices that Peter can make to try to, manage his problems. And I thought it was fascinating to use those characters in that way.
And also to build upon that, overall, it makes the world feel lived in. I think I saw a comparison. This
Mm-hmm.
did actually feel like a comic book movie because it's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
you go to the university. Of course, Bruce Banner is a lecturer there, and then you're going into the nitty gritty of like the action scenes within the city, like the more low level stuff as you saw at the start, and a bit more Scorpion. Of course, the Punisher is going to be there, etc., etc. It feels like that feels like it would be out of a comic book because that's literally what happens. Everywhere you go is like it's still centered with Peter Parker, but yeah, he goes around with his story, and of course, like they're like add-ons, but in a good way. It helps enhance the story. And I thought, yeah, as you mentioned, Aidan, the relationship between Spider-Man and the Punisher was one of my highlights, of the film. John Berthnall did,
Yeah.
a really, really great job. And I think this again for me because this might be a bit controversial, but I am actually not the biggest fan of the Homecoming trilogy, in the sense that, well, I do enjoy it, but I feel like I know, Webb, I'm sure you're probably not going to like to hear this, but with No Way Home, I did really enjoy the film watching in the cinema. But then when you look back at it, I guess because of
Yeah.
that Spider-Man nostalgia, it was like, it was good, but I feel like it could have been even grander. And the one
I've
with,
heard.
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. No, keep going.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, with I think the second was with Mysterio. It was fun, but yeah, but they went to Europe for a bit. Then he's only Spider Man for a little bit. It's like it's nice. I know some people have the complaints, but like, oh, where's Gwen Stacy, where's Osborn, etc. But this film, even though a lot of it was shot in Scotland, Edinburgh, it was nice seeing it more traversed in New York and having that feeling of the world and some of the shots of swinging through the city, because I did see an interesting point that the director for the first three films says you have to do it with CGI. Nobody wants to see Spider-Man swing with practical effects, and then here I think they did it perfectly. I think the scene where he falls down, where it looks
Mm.
like he's really upset, and after the whole thing of the stomp, and then yeah, then when he's swinging with MJ, it looks straight out of the comic book, title pages, the cover pages. So I thought, yeah, I think this
Yeah.
one did feel out of all four films did feel a lot like a Spider-Man film. And yeah, I'd really like to compare, stuff people say Spider-Man 2 up there, because there's the first Garfield film. I did really did really enjoy it. But you go ahead, Aidan.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, to echo what you said, I completely agree. Where No Way Home was probably no, I think I would say it is. No Way Home was my all-time favorite theater experience I've ever had. Like it was just so electric seeing that movie opening night. My dad, my brother, and I, we all went in black tie, Spider-Man tie. I'll see if I can find the photo here in a bit, but like it was an event. We went all decked out, and it was so much fun. But it does have diminishing returns. You know, you go back and you watch it, and there's a lot of moments that feel like they were engineered to generate applause. And when you watch those moments in a vacuum, it kind of sucks a lot of the story out of it. Whereas this one, it feels like all of the elements are only in there if they service the story. And Peter Parker is the forefront of this story, which is what I loved the most about it.
Yeah, I think in general, if we're ranking the Tobey Maguire, Andrew, and Tom Holland movies, the Amazing Spider-Man movies are probably near the bottom. Maybe the first one is better than Far From Home, the second movie in the Tom Holland Homecoming trilogy. But at the top, you've got Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 2. Kind of have to include the Spider-Verse movies. I know they're animated, but I really think they do some incredible storytelling in there. And that's why, this one I end up putting like third, fourth, maybe fifth. It's definitely a more personal story for Peter Parker here, and I think it really resonates with the audience. But for me, I really did find the nostalgia factor for No Way Home with seeing Toby again and seeing all the three Spider Bros interact was really fun for me. This one, it kind of dragged a little bit in the middle when they started introducing Sadie Sink's character, which I guess we've said is Jean Grey, because I wasn't quite sure where they were going with it at first until we got to near the end of it. And the emotional core of the story kind of really made sense.
And that's, I think, a perfect segue to the next point is, first of all, what was everyone's reactions to the VMAX moment, which was
I loved the VMAX moment. I'm going to be so real. I've seen people complaining about it online, and it feels like you guys remember peak early MCU with Iron Man 3 and the Mandarin turned out to be a fake villain and everyone was upset and complaining.
Yeah.
This felt similar to that, but much better because whereas that was like the main villain of the movie and kind of sucked a lot of energy out, this was just the MacGuffin. And every Marvel movie has a MacGuffin, a serum, a bomb, a weapon, something that they're trying to get. And this whole movie is spent, they keep referencing it. And the subversion of expectation they did with it, which is, I will say akin to what they did with the Mandarin and Iron Man 3, but I think just done so much better. And I loved it because I was kind of like cringing the whole time. I was like, oh man, we still haven't gotten the VMAX reveal. It's going to be some X-Men setup or it's going to be some shoehorned in, piece of lore that doesn't, the movie doesn't really need right now. And instead, much like everything else in the movie, it was just a piece of the story that serviced the characters. I loved it. I loved the way they used it.
I totally agree. Like, up until that moment, I was still unsure about what they were doing with the story and character for Jean Grey, because I kind of didn't like how Peter helped damage control.
Make the inhibitor.
Make the inhibitor. It was like, real Oppenheimer moment. Universal inhibitor is going to be used on mutants and whatnot. But the moment she looks up and she sees VMAX and it hits you, she is going through the same emotions that Peter Parker felt in No Way Home when Aunt May died, right? Losing the only person she had left. And, when you see that, you kind of understand that, she is who Peter Parker was near the end of No Way Home.
Yeah.
And now it's Spider-Man's turn to be like the older brother, the Tony Stark, the Tobey Maguire, Peter Parker, for Jean Grey's character. And so that's when I felt like, okay, the emotional resonance of this movie really lifted up and tied it all together for me.
Yeah.
And Webb, I'll push this to you to start with. Based off this, for some Spider-Man fans, there were some complaints that it almost felt like, yes, and this is maybe a consistent thing with the Homecoming trilogy, is it was great having, and I go near the end, one of the bigger village was damage control. And we did see Scorpio at the start, but
Mm.
it um it wasn't really a Spider-Man villain for this film, a traditional one. Do you think it was, looking back now, correct to go down this route of, I think it's some may say, it's a opening fall to begin with X-Men, you said with the Oppenheimer moment with the inhibitors, or do you think maybe it would have been nice to have seen a traditional Spider-Man villain in this role? What do you think?
I think we have to really expand the scope of it and think about it in terms of superhero movies in general, right? Like, you go back to the early 2000s when they really started to get their legs going. They've been in, mainstream popular culture for the last 25 years or so. We're at a point where, like, even, most basic people know who Jean Grey is. So, like, that moment when they revealed her name, they didn't make a big deal about it. They didn't make, oh my god, she's a mutant, she's this, she's that, which you would have gotten in previous iterations of
Yeah.
superhero movies. And so, personally, I think as long as the story is good, it doesn't really matter if it's a traditional Spider-Man villain, if it's a classic take on a previously famous story. At this point, Marvel has built this sandbox, and they just need to be willing to play with the characters more. Take them in fresh directions. Do interesting things with them that maybe we haven't seen before. I mean, I've played the most recent three Spider-Man games. Spider-Man, Spider-Man Miles Morales, Spider-Man 2. There's a ton of classic Spider-Man villains in those games. Um, I'm not sure what this movie could have done differently or better from those games to really differentiate themselves. So I like that it's trying something new within the MCU sandbox in setting up what they're planning with the mutants, and I actually think it worked well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
mean,
yeah, go ahead.
sorry. Well, I was just gonna say. I mean, I think all three of the supporting characters represent a different. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but Hulk, represents the monster inside him that he's trying to control. Punisher represents him pushing away the people in his life,
Exactly.
and Sadie Sink represents somebody close to him dying and how he
Exactly.
reacts to that. And they're all mirrors for him. I do think expanding into the villain thing, I I think Jean Grey was a good antagonist for this movie, not a traditional one. I think she serves the plot of the story, so I don't have a huge issue with her. On paper, Jean Grey as the Spider-Man villain, yeah, I don't like it. But then you see the way they do it in the movie, and I don't have a problem. I was actually talking with some people at work today. I actually think it's a great thing that you can go into a movie like this, walk out of it so thrilled and like excited and pumped and like, man, that was an awesome movie. And yet we can still sit down and be like, but man, I really wish we could have seen this. Man, I really want to see that. Isn't that like, look at the silver lining? That's a great feeling to have. We could walk out of this and be like, man, that was awesome, but I'm kind of tired of getting these Spider-Man movies. They're starting to grow old. The
Mm.
fact that there's still things that I want to see from Spider-Man is a good feeling. I'd be a lot more concerned if there was like, well, yeah, this is fun, but I mean, maybe let's wrap it up. We've kind of been doing this already. But no,
And I mean,
I still want to.
they
Yeah,
still had
and like,
Scorpion, they still had Tombstone, and those like short scenes.
I would like that to be the next thing for him. I want him to have an arch nemesis or something like that. I think that'd be fun, but we've got time for it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think based off what you guys said as well, and I think this kind of leads into the Jean Grey discussion. Another addition to the Homecoming trilogy was Ned, and MJ. So yeah, what are you guys' thoughts on, first of all, at the end of No Way Home, they forget who he is. How do you guys think how it went in the movie, but they played with this, and of course, the final scene. I want to hear you guys if you have any theories of how Ned near the end started with the fist bump and everything, handshake, started to realize that if he does get his memories back and how he got it, alongside, do we think MJ is starting to get her memories back or not? And overall, how was their addition to this film? Because I see some people being like, we should leave them a bit in the past now. They've been great, but for the fourth and sorry for the fifth, potentially sixth movie, where we go to Miles Morales, maybe see more, maybe see his introduction, and also, if we see original characters from the ones like Gwen Stacy and Osborne, etc. Like, how do you think their impact was in the film? And yeah, any theories around that? Either of you?
No, I'll let you take it, Web.
I mean, I'll remind people that Mary Jane Watson didn't show up in the original Spider-Man comics until much later, right? Gwen Stacy was sort of there before. So I think it's fine to have different variations of different characters in the films and play around with the story that they're trying to tell. Like it would have been nice maybe to see, the 4 years that Peter is at ESU or in college and meeting new people and doing new things, but that's just not the story they wanted to tell. They wanted to sort of do the 4 year time jump, have Mary Jane and Ned come back, and really highlight the emotional core of the story, which is Peter feeling lonely, Peter not having anyone now that Aunt May is gone, Tony Stark is gone, and really pushing a story of emotional resonance, I think, for the audience, which is that if you're feeling alone, you have to reach out, you have to find community. I think that's going to be really important tying into the mutant story as well, because X-Men, mutants, they're all about community. So I think they're sort of using this movie to set that up, but they're doing it in a way that makes sense for Spider-Man's character that they've built.
Yeah, and I liked the way they were included. I was worried when I heard they were going to be in this movie that they were just going to walk back the consequences of No Way Home, but they didn't. The movie sticks to its guns, and it's very dramatic. And I didn't really fully believe the scene when I saw it, but my heart rate still went up just a little bit when Peter and MJ had that scene on the roof, kind of in the midpoint, and she started
Yeah,
remembering him, but then was under control. When that scene was playing out, I was like, this is the lamest, most cliche way to wrap up this story. There's no way she just remembers him that easily. But then it wasn't, and it actually ended up being a really good and creepy scene.
Now, I kind of had a feeling that that was
Yeah, I
something
caught
that
on a
was
little
off.
bit, but my feeling was more of like, this has to be fake because this is so stupid, and then it was.
yeah. I think you could
But
tell
the
from the way she was not reacting when
acting,
she
yeah,
was swinging. You could be like, that's a bit weird. Shouldn't you be like really like,
yeah,
oh my god?
I mean, this Spider-Man has fought fake visions before, right? Like Far From Home, Mysterio sent him on a
hmm
wild ride, so I wasn't too surprised. But I did really like how they did that. Like again, it
yeah.
really touches on the hitting on Peter Parker's loneliness in the movie and how he reacts to that. And I
Well,
thought
and
his
then
reaction was good too.
the final scene where they do have their confrontation when she finds the note, I thought that was handled really well. It doesn't wrap up neatly, and again, I like the idea. I've seen somebody say this online that if he had told her the truth in that coffee shop when he first walked in all those years ago, maybe they could have ended up together. But because he waited 4 years, she's lived her life, she's moved on, and I think it really adds to the drama of his character, where he's like, it's his fault. He's self sabotaged. Like, he got in his own way. And I think the friends were in the movie to service the story. It didn't feel like they were just there because, well, they've been in the other ones, so they need to be in this one. Like, they served a purpose. And if Ned wasn't in the movie, we wouldn't have gotten the Lord of the Rings quote scene, which is the best part of the entire film.
Oh yeah, I love that scene. As soon as they started saying it, I was like, "This is amazing."
even though they got the quote wrong.
Did they? I didn't notice.
They did. Yeah, here's your fun fact for the day, because he says, uh, "All right, then keep your secrets." And Spider-Man says, "If you're referring to the incident with the dragon, uh, I was barely involved." And Ned goes immediately to, "Oh wait, no, maybe I'm missing it." I thought they skipped the scene. I'll have to go back to it. I thought they
Yeah.
skipped a little bit. The Frodo says,
That means we got to do another Spider-Man Brand New Day watch.
yeah.
That's what
Yeah,
that is.
there we go. I'm talking about another rewatch. Overall, then, Web, I'll start with you. Spider-Man Brand New Day. Overall thoughts? How do you feel about it? Maybe out of 10, what are your thoughts? And yeah, then we'll go to Aiden afterwards.
I think I gave it an 8 out of 10. I think overall the story was pretty good for me. There was a little, a couple of moments where I felt like it was dragging a little bit, but not too much. There's a couple of scenes where I felt like the CGI was slightly off, but again, nothing that bothered me so significantly to keep me from enjoying the movie. And yeah, no, I think this is a really strong start for Tom Holland's next Spider-Man trilogy, and I'm really, really kind of excited to see what they do next, especially given that post-credit scene kind of doesn't. I saw mixed reviews and mixed thoughts on what people thought about that scene, but I kind of feel like it's just setting up a whole new start for everyone.
I have to reclaim my honor, because I'm feeling ashamed about this now. It was the quote wrong, because it says, "All right, then keep your secrets," and then Peter immediately jumps into the incident with the dragon. But the next line is Frodo says, "Before you came along, we Bagginses were very well thought of. Never went on any." Okay, sorry.
You had to do it.
I had to.
applaud
It was
that.
bothering me. I thought so clearly it was wrong, but now I'm doubting myself.
There's always the actually guy.
Yeah, that's on me.
But no, you can save yourself with your overall thoughts. You have to give it a really high rating now.
I don't have to give it a high rating, but I will give it a high rating because I thoroughly enjoyed it. My wife and I even talked about wanting to go see it again, which that's a huge indicator for my wife, because she doesn't usually like to go see movies twice in theaters, but she brought it up. She's like, "We should go see it again," and I was like, "I totally agree," and I still want to at some point, because it was just a fun movie. It was
Yeah.
very well done, very well acted. Visually, yeah, like you said, it just looks leagues and strides above the John Watts trilogy. And I really like what they're doing with this character. I don't know, it's so interesting because when I was younger, I used to get really annoyed when I'd go see a new Marvel movie and it wouldn't have a tie-in to the Infinity War storyline. You know that feeling, like back in peak 2013, 2014, 15
Yeah.
era, you'd go see a movie and you'd be like, "What's the next tease?" And then it wouldn't, and you'd be like, "Oh man, I was really looking forward to seeing how this connected," and there wasn't anything in the end credits. I feel the opposite now, where I go to the movies and I see a movie that's just fully self-contained, and it's like, yeah, this is. And again, they did slightly set up the X-Men, but it wasn't. It didn't feel like too obtrusive, or it didn't take away. It didn't become an X-Men setup film. It was just a film that had an X-Men character in it. So my final score, what were we rating it out of 10?
10.
I'd give it a 8.5, 9 out of 10.
Nice. And quickly, I know this kind of counteracts your point a bit, but what do you guys think about what this potentially?
That's only in the barest of terms of setup.
Yeah. But yeah,
I mean, I
what do
liked
you guys,
it.
any theories?
I mean, it's pretty obviously setting up whatever happens after Doomsday, because we've been told that Tom Holland Spider-Man is not going to be in Doomsday. So, it seems interesting. His blip disappears and then reappears on a completely different planet. So, there's a lot of discussion on what that means. But I'm just curious to see where they go from here. It's kind of like how after Endgame they did Far From Home, right? Like the big post Avengers movies, Spider-Man. So they're kind of doing that again, I think, where they're setting up
Mhm.
Spider-Man to take place post Doomsday.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a ton of opinions on the end thing. I mean,
Yeah,
it it kind of just does its job. It says he'll come back, and it's probably something space
yeah.
related, or it could be a second Spider-Man. I've seen some people say that the glitch that happens on the screen might be indicative of like Miles Morales or like the Spider Verse people, but I don't know.
Well, I guess we'll have to see Doomsday and sorry, not Brand New and Secret Wars to see how that continues. But I think, yeah, Spider-Man Brand New Day, we all think across the board really did enjoy the film. I think it's a step up again from the John Watts trilogy, and very excited to see where this is now because it feels like we're starting to go back up on the trajectory for the MCU. But also, this was a really good, I guess, contained in a way Spider-Man film as well. So, yep, I think we had really fun discussing this day on Fothcast and Fellowship of Fandoms. Please make sure to like, subscribe, share this as we continue, and let us know if there's anything else. I think we have some cool X-Men stuff coming up soon.
Yeah,
But
check
yeah,
out Barley's review.
yes, that is why. Yeah, Barley's review on the site. There'll be a link in the description where he goes into more detail as well. So yeah, perfect. First of all, I want to say thank you, Aidan.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Really appreciate that, and thank you, Webb, especially to you as well because you are such a big Spider-Man fan.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. Take care.
Take care.
Yeah.
All right, then. See you guys.